Now, although so many people desire to live in California, it has fastly become one of the places that a lot of people are desiring to leave. If you haven't heard by now, and I believe this is an attack on faith, this is an attack on the Word of God, the new law that California Governor Gavin Newsom put into place of allowing children to identify pretty much, I'm going to paraphrase it to make it make sense, allowing children at school to identify with whatever way they choose to identify, and the school not having to notify the parents. Pretty much the student and the teacher get to have their own understanding to where the parent, the guardian, does not need to know. If that's not destruction, I don't know what is. If that's not causing division in the home, which is what the devil likes, I don't know what is. If that's not an attempt to separate families and keep people down and keep people out, I don't know what is. We're going to get into this clip where you're actually going to hear someone on the LGBTQ community side denouncing this law, encouraging people not to follow it. Now, typically, you would think that someone in that community would support such a law. But when you have people that the law was actually put in place for coming out speaking against it, I think it's worth adhering to. I think it's worth taking, chewing the meat, spitting out the bones. I think it's worth changing. Now, without further ado, let's check out this clip, talk about it a little bit after, but let's hear this woman, this LGBTQ woman, explain how detrimental and wrong this law is. Let's get into this.
Good afternoon. My name is Arian Adamchikova, and I live in San Francisco. I'm a progressive Democrat, and I have been a CTA high school teacher for 22 years. I am a lifelong LGB activist. I am a mother of a formerly trans-identified son. 10 years ago, no students identified as transgender. Now, every class has at least a few students who identify as something other than their own sex. My son's trans identity was a result of anxiety, loneliness, and too much time on the internet, like so many other youth. Sadly, these children who reject their sex believe that they were born wrong and dissociate with their natural bodies, which results in a downward spiral of their already fragile mental state. We as teachers are told, trained, mandated to accept the child's pronouncement at face value and keep this secret from parents. We game the students' records to automatically change names and pronouns depending upon the recipient and lie to parents. Senators said teachers do not want to be the gender police. That is true. Teachers also do not want to be liars or co-conspirators in the social transition of students. Parents should be trusted to make decisions for their own kids. We should not be making an assumption of guilt about parents when it comes to their own children. Teachers should nurture, not obstruct, the parent-child bond. Teachers are evaluated on how well we value and respect students' families and their role. AB 1955 obliterates that mutual respect. The Senate was filled with coming out stories, and the bill's author erroneously equates coming out as gay to the adoption of a transgender identity. Being gay carries no chance of irreversible medicalization to fit a sense of self, nor does it require active deception by schools.
Your time is up. Please wrap up.
In children, trans ideation is almost always accompanied by other serious mental health issues. Secrecy from parents is not the answer. This
Please
bill
wrap
will
up.
only hurt children.
Thank you.
Vote no, and thank you.
They get so mad. I know they're on a time limit, but it's like They get so bad. This is it. I agree with what she said because majority of it is coming from the internet and stuff like that, and that's why as parents, you guys need to make sure that you guys are really monitoring your children and what they're doing on the internet, or keeping them from it altogether. One of those things have to happen because just letting them free roam and just range is what's causing all this confusion, just allowing the devil to just get into the minds of these children too young and just corrupting their entire futures. But the interesting part about this is that, and I know people always say Christians shouldn't be into politics and they shouldn't be talking about politics. But until we get believers in these realms, we are not going to have the right people in position making decisions that have a foundation of the Word of God. That's really what we need. Now, this woman here, this is what you call possibly an anomaly. Like, typically, you might not have people fighting against that are a part of the community that essentially this law is put in place for, to help support the people in that community. They're just doing it for the children. Why they want to leave the parents out of it, I don't know, considering that there could be children that, identify in the LGBT community and there's parents as well, like this situation. I believe that we need to get more believers in these positions, in these places, in these political realms, so that way there could be a lot more common sense. Like there's one thing for, it's like, I'm trying to figure out where they're aiming to go. I know it's a path of destruction, but how much destruction do they want to do? Because there was a time where it's like, I grew up in schools, there was no hiding from the parents. I mean, they had notes on the report cards, they'd call home, they'd let them know anything. Like, there was updates, they call you if you missed a class. I mean, I grew up in the time going to school where we still said the Pledge of Allegiance. We could say one nation under God. The entire classroom said it, including the teacher. Like, it was just a different time. But in this time, it's like, I'm wondering how much destruction they want to do, because they started off with allowing the Pledge of Allegiance to be removed because the whole one nation under God thing. And then they start implementing the LGBT, and start allowing the, non-binary bathrooms and the co-ed bathrooms. And like, they start implementing all this. And now it's like, okay, now we want you to really be yourself, and we'll make sure we never tell your parents. Well, who are you telling? Why do they want, so it's like, why do they want to destroy the children? And I feel that they're trying to hide it and mask it, like, oh, we're looking out for y'all, we're on you guys' side, don't worry, like, we're just trying to protect your feelings to make sure you have a space and a place to really be you and really be who you are. But you're turning these people against their parents, for some of them, because there could be parents that do not believe and do not want their children to go down that path, and those parents have a right and a place and the authority to guide them in the other direction. And what this is doing, and what the intent behind this is, to keep children away from correction, to keep them away from realizing that you are a child, you have not developed yet, your frontal lobe has not fully developed. You do not need to be making these decisions yet for your life without parental direction. If this is not a direct attack on the youth, I don't know what is. I don't. This is terrible. This is pitiful. How much farther are we going to go? Like I said, I don't always talk on these political debates and these political realm convos, but I believe that there has to be an understanding where Christians stop being afraid to discuss these things. It's not that we have to discuss them all the time, but you got to stop being afraid to discuss them, because we need the Word of God to be the foundation of every decision we make as a nation, every decision we make as a person, as an individual, as a union, as a couple, as a marriage. Everything needs to be made, decided off of the foundation of the Word of God. We got to pray for our nation, Pray for our children, pray for our youth, pray for our families, pray for the American marriage, pray for the American family, pray for the American house. You gotta pray for it because there's evil forces that mean evil intent to cause destruction and divide the home, just like the devil. Gotta stay prayed up out here, y'all, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. Stay prayed up, man. That's all I got for you guys on this one, man. I appreciate it if you stayed all the way to the end. To the next one, y'all. I'm out.